so many bad books to read.
Hi, I'm Nurse Huckleberry, and this is the Bad Reads Book Club, where I read bad books so you don't have to. Today, I have read the book Purrder, She Wrote by Kat Conti. This is a cat cafe mystery, and it was written in 2018. Well, it was published in 2018. Closing the book on murder, one paw print at a time, from Kat Conti, the author of Cat About Town. This is book 2 in the Cat Cafe mystery series. I don't know how many total there are. At least 5.
5?
At least 5. I don't know how many total, but I have at least 5. So, in A Purrder, She Wrote, one, I would say that the title is misleading. You'd think that the star, that the protagonist would maybe be a writer. No, the protagonist is not a writer. There's actually, I guess there is one person who works for a newspaper, but there's no writers. You want to be a part of this? You'd be a great asset. In this, Maddie James, who's 28, has recently moved from California back to her hometown in Massachusetts area. Well, they call it Daybreak Island. They call it Daybreak Island, but I'm quite certain it's actually this island, right there, which is Martha's Vineyard, because they describe it as a East Coast touristy island that has like 5 different towns on it, and there is a place called like Daybreak Cafe here, so I have to assume she's talking about Martha's Vineyard. So there's a lot of very rich socialites that live there, and it's kind of like a historic, very touristy area. Yeah. So she moves from California all the way over back to Massachusetts, where she grew up, and now she's living at her grandfather's house, which her grandfather has a gigantic 4-story Victorian, huge, absolutely massive 4-story Victorian home in this seaside village. And I guess he was going to lose the house. I guess in the first book he was going to lose the house, and now he's not losing the house. So they decide to, or part of them saving the house was putting a cafe in it. And they do this by taking the living room and like one other room and just putting a bunch of chairs and stuff in it. Oops, there I am. They put a bunch of chairs and stuff in it. And yeah, it's all like thrifted furniture. She just kind of ramshackled together. And they're like, this is a cafe, but with cats. Cats everywhere, lots of cats. Covering, just tons of cats. So the idea being, people could come, they're supporting the local rescue, they house like 10 or so cats, people come in, they have coffee, you pay a fee, and then you get to hang out with the cats all day. You know? You're just over here like, oh, hello, Pussycat, how are you? Bet. You know? Hello, meme cat. How are you today? Bet. That's, yeah. So, you know, it's mostly just petting the cat. There's litter boxes. A lot of the time is spent cleaning litter boxes. Actually, a lot of the time is spent with the protagonist saying, I should clean the litter boxes. And then her volunteers clean them already. So, that's fun. So she moves in with her grandfather, and she has not just only brought herself. No, she has brought her business partner, Ethan, who they kind of dated, but then they decided maybe they were just better as friends. So she brings him also, and he used to run a juice cafe over in California. And so now they're together. They're in it together, running this little, running this business on their own. And basically Ethan does all the cooking for it. Now, in case you're wondering, they are cooking in the kitchen of the home. And, you know, knowing me, I did a little bit of research on Massachusetts cottage food laws. Yeah, no, they would have definitely not been allowed to do that, because you can cook and sell things out of your home with the correct permits, but there are limitations on what you can and can't cook. And they were cooking things not allowed to cook. So, yeah, we'll go with that. Maybe no. Maybe the author should have researched a little more on food laws. Anyways, so she's got these two volunteers, Adele and Gigi. Adele is she's a woman in her 40s who's kind of a crazy cat lady. Gigi is a young lady, maybe early 20s, had dropped out of college and is currently homeless, living on the beach, and working at the dry cleaner, but also volunteering. So Maddie, the chick who's running it all, this is her opening week, okay? We start on day one of the cat cafe. And now she doesn't want to bite off more than she can chew. So she only opens the cat cafe for 4 hours a day. It's open from noon to 4, and that's it. And somehow, this is taking up an extraneous amount of time in her life. Like, all she's got to do to open is like scoop the litter boxes and feed the cats, and then like check reservations and open the door. And this is like an overwhelming amount of stuff to do. Yeah, she's got really bad time management. Anyways, so day one, she's trying to hype everything up. She's trying to have the best opening, you know? And what happens? Some lady that she went to high school with, Holly Hathaway, who is super snobby, rich socialite, right? She comes in, she's like, I want a cat right now. Give me this pretty puss cat. I want to take it home with me. It's calling me. And they're like, yeah, you got to put in an application for adoption. She's like, no, I want it now. And the volunteer Adele is like, whoa, bitch. You have a bad history with cats, and you don't deserve a cat. I would never ever let a cat go home with you. Yeah, that's right. Suck it. And then they get into a whole little like, and eventually she leaves, and Maddie's like, wow, great, thanks for making my opening so awesome. So Adele leaves, runs off with a glass of wine because she's got a drinking problem, of course. Maddie's really upset, and her grandfather is concerned. And now, mind you, her grandfather's an ex-cop, as is very common in these books, that either a dad or a grandfather or a brother, they're always a cop or ex-cop of some sort, because, you know, they gotta have an in with the law. Anyways, so the grandpa, basically, you know, he's just like, he's been helping with the cats, right? Now, the whole reason the cat cafe started was her cat, JJ, which, when I was reading reviews of the book, this was a point of contention, was the cat's name, because apparently the author forgot that in book 1, they said that the cat was named after John James Audubon of the Audubon Society. And then in this book, suddenly the cat was named Junkyard Johnny. Both of them are JJ for short. But the Goodreads people were mad. They're like, you forgot between book 1 and book 2 how the cat got its name. And they were real upset about that. Okay, they were like, this is not cool. How are you so bad? You know, anyways. Now, JJ is really cool. He's a really sweet cat. And he's a, oh, you're gonna have to go to the 3 stars. I can't read that. You'll have to find it. Anyways, yeah. So what was funny though is so she moves from California all the way over here, and she's like, I'm gonna run a cat cafe, and she just basically starts. She gets the cats and she just starts. She doesn't have a reservation system going. She doesn't have a social media anything going. She doesn't have any kind of marketing. She doesn't really have volunteers, and she doesn't have any employees. And she's trying to turn a profit, but she's using volunteers and like very demanding of their time. Like, well, I need you to tell me what hours you can work because like I need volunteers for this. And they're like, this is a for-profit business. Like, seems a bit aggressive. Anyways, so Adele has the fight with Holly Hathaway. And then later that night, Holly Hathaway is found dead on the beach with a cat toy stuffed down her throat. That's right, choked to death on a catnip mouse. Now Holly, she is an unliked person. There are a lot of people angry at her. She's just mean in general and does not make friends very well, but she comes from wealthy family. So who knows? Who knows who did it, right? There is a long list of suspects, including Cole, who is actually Maddie's brother-in-law, he's married to her sister Val, and he's the one who like called in that he found the body, and they're like, hey, why were you at her house? Like, you are married and you shouldn't be at her house. So like, what were you doing there to find the body anyways? So he and his wife, Val, who's Maddie's sister, they are having a big fight and they are very upset and they are not talking to each other right now. And then added to the list is Adele, right? The angry volunteer, and Gigi, who is the other volunteer that lives on the beach in a tent. And why? Well, because her dad died a few months ago, and then when her dad died, or a few years ago, when her dad died, turns out he had made really bad investments, and actually the family was broke. And actually, maybe they were in a really bad place financially and she had to leave college and come home. And so she starts working with her mom, and her mom decides to open a catering business, and then they're running the catering business and they cater a party for Holly Hathaway. And then at the party, there's a bunch of food that was gonna be thrown away. So Gigi's like, hey, can I feed this to some cats? And then she gets really angry and Holly's like, no, you little bitch, you're disgusting. You're so gross. And just smears the good name of Gigi's mom's business, right? And so Gigi, obviously, you know, she's like, she's kind of strung out. She's got all these mental health problems from her dad dying and living on the beach and her mentor being a drunken cat lady, you know. So, and then on top of that, another relation of the crazy volunteer, Gabe, who is Adele's nephew, who does construction stuff and is going to be building a portion of the house. I don't know. He's going to be making like a new kitchen in the garage or something. Anyways, Gabe, he was apparently dating Holly, and they were on again, off again, but then she got a new boyfriend. So was it Gabe? Sorry. And then to add to the list, Holly has a twin sister, Heather, and they also hate each other. So maybe it was Heather. Now people, so all of this is happening. It's the hot buzz of the town. It's, this is a town that has a socialite column, like the high society column in the newspapers, and everybody's good name is being dragged through the mud these days, and all that matters is the public view of you, because all these people are stupidly rich, right? So people keep asking Maddie, they're like, hey, I know it's the first week that you just just moved back and you just opened your whole cafe thing. And I know, they're like, hey, it's only open 4 hours a week, okay? You have time for other stuff, including Katrina, who is the lady that runs the animal rescue. She's like, hey, I'm doing like a Meals on Wheels, but for pets. Could you drive around the island and take food to people's pets? And she's like, yeah, sure, of course I will. So she grabs JJ, her cat, who she just puts in a harness all the time and drags him around town with her in her grandpa's old truck, right? And basically everybody's like, oh my God, JJ, oh, he's so cute. And she's like, it's great publicity for the cat cafe. It's how I bring everyone in. And so she just literally takes the cat everywhere. Excuse me, it's midnight.
It's midnight!
That's all. Anyway, she drags the cat around everywhere with her and just always has it in the truck. And I didn't realize that this was like a tag team investigation, but apparently, in the first book, the cat did a lot of the investigating, which I found out later, because in this book, he's just kind of an ornament, like a dog and a purse kind of situation that she just drags around town with her and just is like, well, JJ was there in the truck while I was having a conversation. But I guess in the first book, JJ had been like finding clues. And I'll say there really wasn't a lot of clues in this murder. It was just more of like overhearing people talking and like being nosy. Really, that was it. There wasn't like, because the murder weapon was found at the scene. And that was literally the only piece of evidence that they had was the catnip toy. That was it. Everything else, the catnip toy. That was it. Everything else, they were like, I don't know. So the cops, right? They're really putting the pressure on. They're really trying to find out who did it, because it's a small town and there's not that many suspects. There are quite a few suspects, but not that many. And so they keep pressuring the volunteer, Adele, and they keep being like, you gonna fess up or what? You gonna fess up and do it? And now Adele, right? She finally just says, I did it. I killed her. And so they're like, cool. Lock her up, boys. And they're like, yeah, okay, that's it. And Maddie is like, I just don't believe that she would do it. I've literally known her for one whole day. And in that first day, I watched her yell and scream at someone and be angry and have a drinking problem. But I don't think she killed her. I don't. I know that they have like a totally bad rap and bad history, but there's no way that she actually killed her. I mean, this is a woman who spends every last penny she has helping cats, okay?
Bruh.
And the woman who died is a horrible pet owner who has purposefully released animals unneutered so that they would, allowing them to procreate and create, 20, 30 more cats that she just let starve. There's no way she would do it. And I know this because I worked with her for 2 days. Okay? Okay. But yeah, so there's the Meals on Wheels, which is delivering pet food. That gets added to her plate. And then also, right, her sister's husband was at this whole party thing, and he wasn't supposed to be there, and it's like adding to her plate because her parents are like, hey, could you like talk to your sister? And she's like, oh my God, like I really can't handle talking with her right now. Like they don't really get along. And so she's like, whatever. And she goes and gets her sister. And now the sister's staying at the house. And then the sister starts like eyeing her old business partner, Ethan, and is like, wow, it's pretty cute. Like, I might be getting a divorce. I'm so sad. And Ethan's like, let me comfort you in a nice gentlemanly way. And then they end up making out, okay? So, meanwhile, Maddie also has her own love story going on, right? There's Craig, who she dated in high school and is now a local cop. And she's like, Craig, I'm not into you. And Craig's like, we were meant to be. Like, we're supposed to be together. And she's like, Craig, no, we're not. Like, I seriously don't want to date you. And he's like, I don't know, Maddie. I think we're supposed to be in love. And she's like, I know. Actually, we're not. So she's interested in Lucas, who is like a super hot groomer. Pet groomer. So she's interested in Lucas, the hot pet groomer. And they keep trying to have these dates, but every time they go on a date, something about the murder comes up, and she just ends up ruining the date consistently. Every single time, this woman ruins her dates because she's so obsessive about this fucking murder. And this is after Adele confessed, okay? And so she keeps, and he's like, hey, clearly you do not have the time for me, you don't care about me, you're distracted, you won't listen to the words I'm saying, blah, blah, blah. So that's going on. And then it's her first week of having this place open, and her dad is like, hey, I'm the director of the local hospital. I think that's his job. I'm the director of the local hospital, and my secretary normally puts on the hospital gala that's happening next weekend, and they're old and can't do it anymore. You need to do it. And she's like, hold up. Why couldn't you ask my other sister? And he's like, yeah, well, she's got the whole like maybe divorce thing going on, and I don't want to put too much on her plate. And she's like, she's literally just a housewife. Like, you don't think that this would be like a good distraction? And he's like, nope, terrible distraction. Let her suffer. I want her to wallow. So she's now also planning this party. Her love life is failing. All right, let's see. And then eventually, so Adele's in jail. Maddie has been running all around town. She's been trying to find out little tidbits of information, ruining her love life in the process. And then, finally, the gala is happening. Well, it's gonna happen the next day. Gigi has been working at the shop, and she's like having a hard time. Maddie is so convinced that this skinny little girl is the one who actually is the murderer. She just goes, look, we need to talk, all right? I can't believe for a second that Adele would commit this murder. And I know that you had a problem with Holly, and your mom had a problem with Holly, and your dad died, and maybe you wanted to kill her because of all those things. My muffins. And then Gigi tries to commit suicide. It fails. So she's in the hospital, and then she ends up in a psychiatric ward. Now, in all of this, her mother, right, who was running a catering company that she was working for, she's like in desperate need of money because Holly just basically dragged her name through the mud after trying to feed the cats leftover food event happened. And nobody will hire her. Absolutely no one will hire this caterer anymore. And so Holly, Felicia, the mom, So she's like desperately looking for work, and she goes to Maddie and she's like, hey, I know you're opening your whole cafe thing, but could I cater it? Can I like bring you baked goods and stuff? Because like, I really need the money, and like, it looks like you don't have that much space. And she's like, you know what? Let me see. And then she eats the cinnamon bun and she's like, damn, that's a fucking good cinnamon bun. Okay, you're on. And so she hires her to do the cooking, which is kind of stupid because Ethan was already there doing the cooking. That was like his whole job. So I don't know what they expect him to do now. What, just make coffee? Also, they drink an excessive amount of coffee. Anyways, so they decide to hire her for that, and then she's like, hey, you know what? Turns out I am planning my dad's whole like hospital gala thing. We need a caterer for that. Can you cater that? And she's like, oh my God, you're so kind. Of course I'll cater your gala. And so the gala's coming up. She ends up being like, hey, Val, the sister, can you actually plan this thing? Because I can't do it. I can't plan it. I don't have time. I have to spend 4 hours a day at my cafe. And so they do. And they do a star-themed gala, and everybody thinks it's amazing, and the food is super great. And Maddie goes up to the caterer, Felicia, and she's like, hey, I just wanted to say I'm so sorry. I talked to your daughter, and I think I'm the one who caused her to want to commit suicide. And I just wanted to apologize for that because, like, yikes. And then she's like, yeah, I thought that, you know, given everything, that she was the murderer and not Adele. But now we know the truth. It was actually the caterer, Felicia. Because she snuck in during the party and nobody knew that she was there, and then it turns out that she happened to have one of the cat toys in her pocket, and Holly was yelling at her and she got mad, so she just shoved the cat toy down her throat just to, quote, shut her up, and then she accidentally died anyway. Oh my God, I'm to the climax! It's the best part! Dude, these muffins suck. This is a terrible muffin recipe. These muffins look really bad. I'm not excited. Bless you. And then one of the servers, who was actually a cop apparently, having just collected the confession from the caterer, is like, that's it, you're going to jail, and just takes her away. It turns out that Adele didn't know who exactly the murderer was, but she thought it could maybe be Gigi, or maybe it was her nephew. And so she was like, you know what? I'll take the blame. Let them continue their lives, even though it was neither of them. So she was glad to be not in prison. I gotta say, this book, 2 out of 5 stars. A lot of factors here. 1, the cat. Like, I don't know why the cat is supposed to be a huge part of the story when he's literally just dragged around town. Like, he doesn't do anything. I didn't realize he was supposed to be important. Like, the whole thing, it's like, oh, this wouldn't have happened without the cat. And I was like, okay, well, cool, there's a lot of cats. So many cats here. Not sure why this one in particular is the good one, other than he's harness trained. That's about it. 2, the murder weapon. Like, I don't know how hard it is to shove a catnip mouse down someone's throat enough to kill them, but it feels like a very improbable murder weapon. You know, it just feels stupid. Like, she didn't like bind her hands or anything. You just take it out. It's a catnip mouse. You just take the mouse out of your mouth. Yeah, you know, the main character is so annoying. She's just whiny. She's very much a martyr. She's like, oh my God, I have so much going on. And I'm like, do you really? Do you really? Your cafe is open 4 hours a goddamn day. For whatever reason, she wakes up at like 6 or 7 a.m. every single day. And then she's like, oh, I have so much to do today. I need to work at my one job for like 5 hours. And then my friend asked me to drive around town for like an hour. And then I gotta have dinner with my boyfriend. This is gonna kill me. But yeah, her time management is absolutely horrible. She's like, oh, I need to do this thing and it's gonna take me forever. And then on top of it, the things that she's constantly worried about needing to get done, that she's always running out of time for, most of the time somebody else does them anyways. So it doesn't really make sense. Like, she doesn't even have to do them. Other people are doing them all the time. So I don't know what she's complaining about. She spends almost no time at her cafe. And when she is at the cafe, it's just like, I need to clean the litter box and talk to customers. And there's so many characters, way too many characters in the book. Everyone's surface level. I thought that the grandfather was gonna be a lot more important, but literally he just has like a man cave in the basement and he's just down there most of the time. I was like, he's a retired cop. Isn't he gonna be like a big part of the story? Nope. Every now and again, she like bounces an idea off him and he's like, yeah, whatever. Or sometimes he's got a friend in the force who has a little inside information, but it's typically not that much inside information. The ending, super meh, super lame ending. It's just not good. It's just like, I don't, reading reviews, some people were like, I figured out the killer. And I was like, I don't know how you could figure out the killer because like, sure, there was motive, but there was nothing whatsoever placing them at the scene. So it seems a little weird, like, because no one saw them there whatsoever at all. So it seems weird that people would figure it out in advance with just knowing a little motive, but whatever. Yeah, zero spice, zero. I mean, like, some people make out, but it says, I saw them kissing. So I closed the door and ran away, literally. But yeah, boring, would not read again, too many characters, and the lead is really whiny. And apparently the cat was supposed to be a detective. This is no Bork Cop, all right? This is a sad cat in a harness being dragged around on a truck. That's about it. Anyways, thank you guys so much for joining me in this week's book club. This month. We vote here live on Twitch for book clubs each month. I have a whole giant stack of bad books to read. So stay tuned for more bad books, for more Bad Reads Book Club. Come on, thank you so much. Like and subscribe.